All right, Shalom. First and foremost, as always, I want to give all the praise, all the honor, and all the glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Harakah and of course, as always, double honors to our apostles and our elders that rule well at Great Millstone. And salutations to all you sincere Akim, preaching this word in all truth and sincerity. Also, Shalom to you few Akwathium, Wa Akim, that believe in Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. This is 2nd Esdras, chapter 15, verse 16. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. More and more violence is going to take place in the world. And then more and more violence, it is not a coincidence, it's going to take place here in America, which is Babylon the Great. All right, there's going to be seditions, which is, the people uprising, protesting, and coming against one another over, separate, understandings, man. One people want rights for Moes. Another people want to say, well, your rights, don't pertain or allow you to infect that madness upon my children. So there's going to be all kinds of things for the people to have sedition amongst one another. All right, the president, the war going on in Iran. Okay, religions. These are all going to be reasons to cause sedition, all right, economic failure, which is pretty much what this lesson is going into. How, trade is being affected on all levels. Okay, and the prices of goods are starting to see inflation. All right, people are going to begin to invade one another. All right, city against city, state against state, country against country. All right, town against town. Okay, over these seditions, man. All right, over different beliefs. All right. It says, they shall not regard their kings nor princes. Okay, they're not going to give a damn about what your mayor, what your senator, what your president, what your governor, has to say. What the local police, all right, National Guard, have to say or do. Okay, I just seen a video. I think it was out there in Chicago. I want to say it was out there in Chicago. No, Slovakia. It was Hawaii. It was in Hawaii. And although Hawaii is mainly, inhabited by Japhites, or the people of Japhet, which, I'm not sure of their specific tribe, but the Polynesians, Hawaiians, Tongans, Samoans, all right, Guamanians, all right, Filipinos, when I mention those people, when I mention those people, like the way I'm saying them, I'm talking about the heathen, all right, of those peoples. Because we got Israelites that were scattered amongst all people on the earth. And a lot of those Japhites are actually Israelites. Okay, such as Filipinos. A lot of Filipinos are actually Israelites. But them, if they're heathen, if they go back to Japhet, then they're heathen. All right, so in Hawaii, you do have a lot of Israelites. You do have a lot of Puerto Ricans, all right, that live in Hawaii or that moved, to Hawaii during World War One, World War Two, after they got citizenship, becoming pretty much becoming a colony, being colonized, I should say. They give them citizenship in, I believe, the late 30s, early 40s. And what that citizenship actually did was allow them to be recruited into World War One and World War Two. All right, so it was a big kick in the ass, you know. But nevertheless, you had ICE out there in Hawaii getting stomped out, okay, by citizens, by regular people, civilians uh, of Hawaii. So these people ain't gonna give a damn about, officials or law enforcement or so-called first responders, man. It says, in the course of their actions shall stand in their power, meaning if they have the ability to do something, whether it's right or wrong, they're gonna say fuck it and take a risk. Okay. And in that day, the day that we're approaching Jacob's trouble, all right, you know, uh, we're all gonna go through things where you're gonna have to take a risk, whether it's you doing something right or something wrong. All right, and we know what's right, and what's wrong. All right, because we have the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Okay, we're all gonna be tested. We're all gonna go through, these things. But nevertheless, the righteous, the elect, are going to be guided and protected through this. Okay? It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Because there's going to be so much violence. The roads are going to be fucking jacked up, full of people killing each other. It's going to be like that movie, The Road, like the movie Purge, on steroids, man. Okay? You're going to have troops here dominating maybe one city, one highway, one part of the state, and another part being totally overran by niggas, man. Okay? Totally overran by militias and Esau. All right? That's why it's not going to just be a race war. It's also going to be a class war. But there will be, skirmishes and battles taking place based upon, race. Okay? Basically, Esau, versus Jake. Esau versus everybody. All right, you're going to have some spots where Jake's kicking ass. You're going to have, spots where Esau is blowing Jake apart. Okay? Verse 18. For because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Because of your people's pride against Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. All right, he's going to bring trouble upon you, distress, destruction. Okay, famines. All right, different means of calamity. Okay, judgment. And this is the point. It says, a man, verse 19, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor. And that's twofold. Okay, that means that somebody next door to you, all right, somebody next door to somebody is not going to have any pity upon them. If they're lacking a necessity, they're going to say, well, fuck you. All right, we're in need as well. Go get it yourself. If they're lacking and they see, their neighbor has what they need, Amen. It says, but shall destroy their houses with the sword. And they gonna grab a weapon, whether it's a literal sword, whether it's a gun, baseball bat, fucking crowbar, okay, a hammer, and they gonna get it in. They gonna go inside their neighbor's home. It says, and spoil their goods because of lack of bread and for great tribulation. Okay? They're gonna go, you know, people are gonna be going up each other's homes, man, invading, doing burglaries, home invasions. Okay, for goods, for medicine, for clothing, for soap, for food, water. Shit, just to be a nut, just to be able to do something, because it says the course of their actions shall stand in their power. And these people are fucking psychopaths, man. All right, these so-called Americans, these Babylonians, they're nutcases, man. Okay, if you're not in the truth, you're a fucking nutcase. You're a bug out. And you don't have to be in a psych ward to be bugged out. There's a lot of people out here that are bugged the fuck out that are never step foot in a psych ward. Okay? So I was looking around on the internet for a car part that was coming from a different country, and this company had offered me this part that I needed, and at one point they offered me the part for an X amount of money. So this being maybe a year later, maybe a year and a half, maybe half a year later, and I asked them if they would honor, that deal they were going to give me beforehand. And then the one of the members of that company, he went to calculate, and he told me because of UPS, which stands for, I believe, United Postal Service. All right, I believe that's what it stands for. Or United Parcel Service, something like that, which is a major shipping company out here in the U.S. I believe they ship in Canada and Mexico as well, I think. But primarily in the U.S. and in Canada. And he told me because of UPS fuel upcharges that were 28% are now 50%, that he couldn't honor that specific deal. Now he went and offered me a different deal, which is better than the listed price, but that was still a big 15-20% increase that he couldn't honor. And this war going on in the Middle East, this energy crisis is really taking place, man. All right, it's really taking place, in which it's going to affect, you Americans the most. All right. Because, see, the majority of goods that enter America that are sold here to the so-called civilians of America comes from other countries. All right? Comes from other countries. And it has to come by it has to be shipped. Either by boat, by plane, or by land, which all requires fuel. Okay. So therefore, I'm seeing this 15-20% fuel upcharge fee, on something that isn't really, a necessity. Okay. So this is really going to affect, all right, necessities that you people really need and rely on, man. All right, Jacob's trouble is not going to be no joke, man. Okay, the destruction of America, which is Babylon the Great, is going to be no joke. Okay, in other words, it ain't a fucking joke. It's not a game. All right, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai is about to starve you people the fuck out, man. Okay, and if you've heard about the truth, you've heard the truth, which, the majority of you Americans have heard of this one way or another. Whether it was a fucking Drewski skit, all right, a Mike Epps skit, okay, a family member that was, posting this on the internet, doing videos, man, you've seen on the highways and byways. Okay, if Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai marked you for death, all right, you gonna go through it for real, for real. Okay, the only ones that are gonna make it up out of America, which is Babylon the Great, is the elect, man. The rest of you are gonna die. All right, you're gonna die alongside with your daddy, Esau the devil. All right, Yahweh Shai told you, wicked ass Israelites. He said, "You are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do." Okay, that's why we're keeping the Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, of course, to the best of our ability. All right, we're serving Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai to the best of our ability. Meanwhile, you people are serving yourselves, man. Serving Satan. And your fucking daddy, the devil Esau, the so-called white man. Therefore, you're going to die a true Edomite's death. Okay, it tells you about that in Revelation chapter 9. All right? The Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai is preparing horses to slay the third part of man. Which that third part of man is dealing with the wicked, which is Esau. But you're of your father the devil, man. You 2/3 of our people are wicked, man. Therefore, you're going to receive a just judgment from the Heavenly Father. Okay? But America, all right, the world is never going to go back to what it was in the 90s, man. Early 2000s, man. This is fucking it, man. Ain't too much longer. All right? Ain't too much longer. Before the third woe, before Jacob's trouble, before the mark of the beast, which is a microchip. So with that, all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai Bashim Harakakwadash. And of course, as always, double honors to our apostles and our elders that rule well at Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect.